Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here today. You know, I've spent decades studying success and failure, and I want to share something with you that might change the trajectory of your entire life. It's about organization. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. Jim, organization? That sounds boring. That sounds like something my mother used to tell me. But stay with me, because what I'm about to share with you isn't about filing papers or cleaning your desk. It's about designing a life worth living. Let me ask you something. How many of you have ever felt overwhelmed? How many of you have looked at your life and thought, there's got to be a better way? Most of us have been there. The bills pile up, the opportunities slip away, and we wonder where the time went. We wonder why some people seem to have it all together while we're just trying to keep our heads above water. Well, I'm here to tell you that the difference isn't intelligence. It's not luck. It's organization. You see, success is not an accident. Success is the natural consequence of consistently applying fundamentals, and one of those fundamentals, perhaps the most important one, is getting your life organized. Because here's what I've learned. You cannot build a magnificent future on a chaotic foundation. You cannot achieve extraordinary results with ordinary habits. You cannot reach your full potential when your life is in disarray. Think about it this way. If I asked you to build me a house and I gave you all the materials you needed, the finest lumber, the best tools, skilled workers, but I dumped everything in a massive pile in your yard with no plan, no blueprint, no organization, what would happen? You might eventually build something, but it would take you 10 times longer than necessary. You'd waste materials. You'd make mistakes. You'd get frustrated and want to quit. That's what most people do with their lives. They have all the raw materials for success: talent, time, energy, opportunity. But because they haven't organized these resources, they build something far less than what they're capable of. Now, let me tell you where organization really begins. It begins with a decision. You've got to make a decision that you're going to take control. You've got to decide that you're tired of the chaos, tired of the confusion, tired of feeling like you're running in circles. And this decision has to be firm. It can't be one of those weak decisions where you say, well, I'll try to get more organized. No, no, no. Trying is just a noisy way of not doing. You've got to commit. You've got to say, from this day forward, I'm going to design my life deliberately instead of letting it happen by default. Let's talk about time first, because time is the currency of life. It's the only thing we all get the same amount of each day. Rich or poor, young or old, we all get 24 hours. The question is, what are you doing with yours? Most people have no idea. They let time slip through their fingers like water, and then they wonder why they're not getting anywhere. Here's what I want you to do. For the next week, I want you to track every hour of your day, write down what you're doing. Every hour. You might be shocked at what you discover. You'll find that you're spending 3 hours a day watching television. You'll find that you're spending 2 hours on activities that don't move you toward your goals. You'll find pockets of time that you didn't even know existed. This is called awareness, and awareness is the first step to change. Once you know where your time is going, you can start to redirect it. You can start to organize your days with intention. Think about the most successful people you know. Do they stumble through their days wondering what to do next? No. They plan, they prepare, they organize their time around their priorities. They know that every hour spent on something trivial is an hour they can't spend on something significant. Let me give you a formula that served me well. At the end of each day, take 15 minutes to plan the next day. 15 minutes, that's all. Write down the 6 most important things you need to accomplish tomorrow. Not 50 things, not 100 things. 6 things. Prioritize them. Number 1 is the most important. Number 6 is the least important of the 6. Then when you wake up tomorrow, you start with number 1, and you don't go to number 2 until number 1 is complete. Now, some of you might say, Jim, what if I don't finish all 6? That's fine. At least you finished the most important ones. But here's what happens for most people. They make lists of 50 things, feel overwhelmed, and end up doing none of them. Or they do the easy things first and never get to what really matters. Organization means doing first things first. It means tackling the important before the urgent. It means having the discipline to say no to good things so you can say yes to great things. But time is just one piece of this puzzle. Let's talk about your physical environment, because your environment shapes you more than you might realize. Look around your home right now. What does it say about you? Is it organized or chaotic? Is it clean or cluttered? Does it inspire you or drain you? Because here's a principle you need to understand. External order creates internal peace. When your environment is disorganized, your mind is disorganized. When your space is cluttered, your thinking is cluttered. I remember visiting a young man once who wanted to know why he couldn't focus on his goals. We sat down to talk, and I looked around his apartment. Papers everywhere, dirty dishes in the sink, clothes on the floor, books and magazines scattered about. I said to him, son, you want to know why you can't focus? Look around you. Your environment is telling your subconscious mind that chaos is acceptable. How can you think clearly when you're surrounded by disorder? He didn't like hearing that, but he knew I was right, so we spent the afternoon organizing his space. We threw away what he didn't need. We filed what he did need. We created systems. We cleaned. And you know what happened? Within a week, he called me and said, "Jim, I can think again. I can concentrate. I feel like a weight has been lifted." That's the power of organizing your environment. Now, I'm not saying you need to be obsessive about this. I'm not saying you need to have everything perfect, but I am saying that you need to create an environment that supports your goals instead of undermining them. Clean off your desk. Organize your files. Put things where they belong. Create a space that makes you want to work, that makes you want to create, that makes you want to build something magnificent. And while we're talking about environment, let's talk about the people in your life, because that's another area that requires organization. You've heard me say this before. You become the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So let me ask you, who are those 5 people in your life right now? Are they lifting you up or pulling you down? Are they encouraging your dreams or dismissing them? Are they organized and disciplined, or are they chaotic and undisciplined? This is crucial. You cannot organize your life if you're surrounded by people who promote disorganization. You cannot build discipline if you're constantly around people who have none. You cannot reach your potential if you're spending all your time with people who have settled for mediocrity. I know this sounds harsh, but it's true. You've got to organize your relationships. You've got to be selective about who gets your time, your energy, your attention. That doesn't mean you abandon people who are struggling. It doesn't mean you become cold or uncaring, but it does mean you create boundaries. It means you limit your exposure to negative influences. It means you actively seek out people who are going where you want to go, who are doing what you want to do, who are being who you want to be. Find mentors, join masterminds, surround yourself with excellence, and excellence will become your standard. Now let's get to something that trips up a lot of people. Organizing your finances. Oh boy, this is where things get real for most folks. They don't want to look at their bank account. They don't want to make a budget. They don't want to face the reality of their financial situation. But you cannot fix what you won't face. You cannot improve what you ignore. You got to get your financial house in order if you want to build wealth, security, and freedom. Start by knowing your numbers. Exactly how much money comes in each month. Exactly how much goes out. Where does it go? Do you know? Most people don't. They have a vague sense that they're getting by, but they're not organizing their money deliberately. Money is like water. If you don't direct it, it'll flow everywhere and accomplish nothing. Create a spending plan. Some people call it a budget, but I prefer spending plan because it sounds more intentional. Tell your money where to go instead of wondering where it went. Allocate funds for necessities first, housing, food, transportation, then allocate for savings and investment. Yes, pay yourself first. Before you pay anyone else, set aside at least 10% of your income for your future. Organize your money so that you're building wealth, not just consuming it. And here's something else. Get out of debt. Debt is financial chaos. Debt is the opposite of organization. Every dollar you owe is a dollar that controls you instead of a dollar you control. Make a plan to eliminate debt. Start with the smallest debt and pay it off. Then take what you were paying on that debt and apply it to the next one. This is called the debt snowball, and it works because it's organized and systematic. It gives you wins. It builds momentum. It takes the chaos of multiple debts and turns it into an organized march toward freedom. But financial organization isn't just about managing what you have. It's also about creating systems to increase what you have. Organize your income-producing activities. What are you doing each day that generates revenue? What are you doing that's just busy work? Most people confuse activity with productivity. They're busy all day but accomplish nothing of value. Organize your work around high-value activities, the things that actually move the needle, that actually generate income, that actually create results. Let me talk about goals now, because goals without organization are just wishes. I've met thousands of people who have goals. They can tell you what they want. They dream about it, talk about it, think about it. But they never achieve it because they haven't organized the path from where they are to where they want to be. Goals need structure. They need plans. They need deadlines. They need action steps. Here's how to organize your goals. First, write them down. A goal not written is just a wish. Write them down in detail. Be specific. Don't say, I want to be wealthy. Say, I want to have a net worth of $1 million by the age of 50. Don't say, I want to be healthy. Say, I want to weigh 180 pounds with 15% body fat and be able to run a mile in under 8 minutes. Second, break your goals down into smaller steps. If your goal is to build $1 million business, what are the milestones? Maybe the first milestone is to create a business plan. The second is to secure funding. The third is to make your first sale. The fourth is to reach $10,000 in monthly revenue. Break it down. Organize it. Make it manageable. Third, assign deadlines to every step. Deadlines create urgency. Deadlines force action. Deadlines prevent you from putting things off indefinitely. Without deadlines, goals drift into someday, and someday never comes. Fourth, review your goals regularly. I suggest every morning and every evening. Morning review gets you focused on what matters. Evening review helps you assess your progress and adjust your course. This daily discipline of goal review keeps you organized around what's important instead of getting distracted by what's urgent. You see, The difference between successful people and unsuccessful people isn't that successful people have better goals. Lots of people have great goals. The difference is that successful people organize their lives around achieving those goals. They create systems. They build habits. They design their days deliberately. They don't leave success to chance. Let me tell you about habits, because habits are the ultimate form of personal organization. Habits are automatic behaviors. They're things you do without thinking. And when you organize your life around good habits, success becomes automatic too. You don't have to rely on willpower every day. You don't have to make 1,000 decisions. You just follow the system you've built. Think about your morning. Do you have a morning routine, or do you just stumble out of bed and react to whatever comes at you? Successful people organize their mornings. They might wake up at the same time each day, exercise, read, plan their day, eat a healthy breakfast. It's the same sequence every day. Why? Because it removes decision fatigue, because it starts the day with wins, because it creates momentum. What about your evening? Do you have an evening routine, or do you just collapse in front of the television until you fall asleep? Organize your evening. Maybe you review your day, read for 30 minutes, prepare for tomorrow, and go to bed at a consistent time. These routines, these habits, they organize your life at a fundamental level. And don't just organize your routines around work and productivity. Organize time for rest, for recreation, for relationships, for personal growth. A well-organized life isn't all work. It's balanced. It includes time for what matters most. But that time has to be intentional. You've got to schedule it, protect it, honor it. Because if you don't organize time for what's important, the urgent will always crowd it out. Let's talk about learning and personal development, because this is another area where organization makes all the difference. Are you growing, or are you stagnating? Are you learning new skills, expanding your knowledge, becoming more valuable? Or are you the same person you were 5 years ago? Growth requires organization. It requires dedicating time to reading, to studying, to practicing new skills. I recommend what I call the hour of power. 1 hour each day dedicated solely to personal development. Maybe 30 minutes of reading and 30 minutes of listening to educational content, or maybe 45 minutes of skill practice and 15 minutes of reflection. The specific breakdown doesn't matter as much as the commitment. 1 hour a day, organized, protected, non-negotiable. Do the math with me. 1 hour a day is 7 hours a week. That's 30 hours a month, 365 hours a year. That's the equivalent of more than 9 full work weeks per year dedicated to becoming better, smarter, more skilled, more valuable. Do that for 5 years and you'll be a completely different person. Do that for 10 years and you'll be unrecognizable. That's the power of organized, consistent personal development. But here's what most people do. They say they want to grow, but they don't organize time for it. They wait until they feel like it, which means they never do it. They say they're too busy, which really means it's not a priority. Remember, we all have the same 24 hours. The question isn't whether you have time. The question is whether you'll organize your time around what matters. Now, I want to address something that holds a lot of people back from getting organized. Perfectionism. They think organization means everything has to be perfect, everything has to be just right, and if they can't do it perfectly, they won't do it at all. That's a trap. That's a lie. Organization isn't about perfection. It's about progress. It's about getting better, not being perfect. Start where you are. Use what you have. Do what you can. Maybe your system isn't perfect. Maybe your organization could be better. So what? It's better than chaos. It's better than nothing. You can refine as you go. You can improve over time. But you've got to start. You've got to take that first step toward creating order in your life. And here's another excuse people use. Jim, I'm just not an organized person. That's not how I'm wired. Oh, really? Let me challenge that thinking. You're wired however you've wired yourself through your habits and choices. If you've spent 20, 30, 40 years being disorganized, yes, organization will feel uncomfortable at first, but that doesn't mean you can't change. That doesn't mean you're stuck being chaotic forever. You can rewire yourself. You can build new habits. You can become an organized person. But it requires a decision, and it requires persistence. It requires you to force yourself to organize even when you don't feel like it, even when it's uncomfortable, even when the old chaotic ways feel easier. You've got to force yourself until it becomes natural. You've got to practice until it becomes automatic. Let me tell you what happens when you organize your life. First, you get more done, obviously. When you have systems and structure, you accomplish more in less time. Tasks that used to take all day now take an hour because you've organized your approach. You're not wasting time looking for things, deciding what to do next, or fixing preventable mistakes. Second, you have less stress. Chaos creates stress. Disorganization creates anxiety. When you don't know what's coming, when you're always reacting, when you're constantly putting out fires, your stress level goes through the roof. But when you're organized, when you have plans and systems, you feel in control. You feel confident. You sleep better at night because you know what tomorrow holds. Third, you make better decisions. When your life is chaotic, you make decisions from a place of crisis. You choose whatever puts out the immediate fire. But when you're organized, you can think strategically. You can consider your options. You can make choices that align with your long-term goals instead of just solving today's problem. Fourth, you create opportunities. When you're organized, you have mental space to see opportunities that others miss. You have time to pursue them. You have resources available because you've managed them well. Disorganized people are too buried in their chaos to even notice opportunities, much less take advantage of them. Fifth, you build credibility. People notice organization. When you show up on time, meet your commitments, manage your responsibilities well, deliver on your promises, people trust you. They want to work with you. They want to invest in you. They want to partner with you. Your organization becomes your reputation, and your reputation becomes your brand. But let me warn you about something. Once you start organizing your life, you're going to face resistance. You're going to face it from others, and you're going to face it from yourself. Others might not like the new you. They might say you've changed. They might mock your planning, your discipline, your organization. That's okay. Remember, successful people are not in the majority. The crowd isn't organized. The masses aren't disciplined. If everyone around you is applauding your choices, you might want to reconsider those choices. You'll also face internal resistance. Your old habits will fight back. You'll have days when you don't want to follow your plan. You'll have moments when chaos feels easier than organization. This is where you've got to force yourself. This is where discipline trumps motivation. Because motivation comes and goes, but discipline is forever. You force yourself to stick with your systems even when you don't feel like it, especially when you don't feel like it. Here's a perspective that might help. Think of organization as a form of self-respect. When you organize your life, you're saying, I respect myself enough to create order. I respect my time enough to use it wisely. I respect my potential enough to give myself the best chance to achieve it. Disorganization, on the other hand, is a form of self-sabotage. It's saying, I don't value my time, my goals, my future enough to get my act together. Which message do you want to send to yourself? Which version of you do you want to be? The organized person who's building something meaningful, or the chaotic person who's just surviving day to day? You get to choose. Every single day, you get to choose. Let's talk about the compound effect of organization. Small organizational improvements don't seem like much in the moment. Filing those papers instead of letting them pile up, that takes 5 minutes. Planning tomorrow today, that takes 15 minutes. Putting things back where they belong, that takes 30 seconds. None of these actions seem significant by themselves, but they compound. If you save 30 minutes a day through better organization, that's 3.5 hours a week, 15 hours a month, 180 hours a year. That's more than 4 full work weeks. 4 weeks of productive time that you created just by being organized. What could you do with an extra 4 weeks per year? You could write a book, build a side business, learn a new skill, spend more time with family. The possibilities are endless, and the compound effect goes beyond time. Organization compounds into confidence, which compounds into courage, which compounds into bigger actions, which compound into bigger results. It all starts with the decision to bring order to your life. Now, I want to address the people who think they're too old to change, too set in their ways to get organized. That's nonsense. I don't care if you're 20 or 70. You can organize your life starting today. Yes, it might be harder if you've got 40 years of bad habits to overcome, but it's not impossible. And the alternative, continuing in chaos for the rest of your life, is that really acceptable to you? You've got years left to live, maybe decades. Do you want to spend them in confusion and disorder, or do you want to spend them in clarity and purpose? It's never too late to turn things around. It's never too late to design a better life, but it starts with forcing yourself to take action today, not someday. Let me give you some practical steps you can take right now, today, this week. Don't wait until conditions are perfect. Don't wait until you have it all figured out. Start now. First, choose one area of your life to organize, just one. Maybe it's your finances, maybe it's your time, maybe it's your workspace. Don't try to organize everything at once. That's overwhelming. Pick one area and make it your focus for the next 30 days. Second, create a simple system for that area. If it's your time, maybe you start by planning each day the night before. If it's your finances, maybe you start by tracking every expense for a week. If it's your workspace, maybe you spend 1 hour this weekend cleaning and organizing. Keep it simple. Simple systems are more likely to be followed than complex ones. Third, commit to following that system for 30 days. Not forever, just 30 days. Anyone can do something for 30 days. Tell yourself, for the next 30 days, I'm going to follow this system no matter what. After 30 days, it'll start to become a habit. It'll start to feel natural. Fourth, evaluate and adjust. At the end of 30 days, look at what worked and what didn't. Maybe you need to tweak your system. Maybe you need to simplify it further. That's fine. The goal isn't to get it perfect the first time. The goal is to get it working. Then once you've got one area organized, move to the next. Take on another area of your life, apply the same process. One area at a time, you transform your entire life from chaos to order, from confusion to clarity, from randomness to intentionality. reality, I want you to understand something profound. Your life will not organize itself. It won't happen automatically. It won't happen because you wish for it or hope for it. Organization requires force. It requires you to force yourself to create structure where none exists, to force yourself to maintain systems even when it's inconvenient, to force yourself to choose order over chaos every single day. But here's the beautiful part. Once you force yourself long enough, it stops feeling like force. It becomes who you are. Organization becomes your identity. Discipline becomes your nature. Excellence becomes your standard. You stop being someone who's trying to get organized and become someone who is organized. That's when the magic really happens. That's when your life transforms. Think about the best athletes in the world. Do you think they force themselves to train every day? In the beginning, yes, absolutely. But eventually, training becomes part of who they are. They're not forcing themselves anymore. They're expressing themselves. The same will be true for you with organization. Force yourself in the beginning, and eventually it becomes effortless. I've watched this transformation in thousands of people over the years, people who were drowning in chaos, struggling just to get through each day. Then they made a decision. They committed to getting organized. They started small. They built systems. They forced themselves to follow through. And over time, their entire lives changed. Their income increased. Their relationships improved. Their health got better. Their stress decreased. Their confidence soared, all because they organized their lives. You can have the same transformation. You have the same potential. The question is, will you do what it takes? Will you force yourself to organize your life? Or will you stay stuck in the chaos, always wishing things were different, but never doing what's necessary to make them different? Let me leave you with this final thought. Life is too short and too precious to waste in disorder. You have gifts to share with the world. You have contributions to make. You have a life to live fully. But you cannot do any of that from a place of chaos. You need organization. You need structure. You need